Alright, so about to play this game real quick. Never played it before. Um, it's called the. It's in the fucking title. Uh, no. Okay. It's gonna be one of those mellow streams. I don't know what to expect playing this game. So this is the first playthrough. Alright. Yo, type of shit is this? Uh, I'm gonna wait till 1 a.m. Yo, boom, 1 a.m. Okay, alright. Should be in mad chatty right now. The end is okay.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Hold up. We gotta adjust that right there. Hold up. Um, we gonna go to a cool little setting.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
I
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
I
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
I bet.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Okay.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
Mhm.
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Was he really?
And then one day, something very peculiar happened.
Okay.
Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. no matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
I hope this ain't no fucking horror game, yo.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Did he? Okay. Alright.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
What the fuck am I playing, yo? What am I playing? What am I playing, yo? I don't know. Unlimited space, I feel like. I I have no idea what I'm playing. I'm just going with the flow at this point.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay. Oh my god. Okay.
Staring into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input correct
What the fuck?
by sheer luck. And easy. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Yo, okay. Okay. Aw. What am I looking for? uh, what am I looking for? I need. I. Oh, okay. If you don't listen to the narrator, it gets annoyed and condescending as fuck. Alright, but
Descending deeper into the building,
it's not scary,
Stanley
alright.
realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Fuck.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
I can tell this game is on some bullshit already. Mind control facility, right? Or escape. I can be out of this bitch if that's the case. I feel like the narrator is like trying to Jedi mind trick. Fuck it. I'm gonna do my own. I'm, I think I'm gonna do my own thing.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
I don't care.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
You know what? I don't feel like dying today. You know what? Fuck it. I do feel like dying today. What's the worst that could happen, right? Geronimo!
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the big picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Ah!
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Hmm.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
So, there's no free will, I feel like. So, this is like predestination. So, I have to do everything that the narrator tells me to do, basically. That's okay. Alright, bet, right? I am going to do what the narrator said. This is how far, these are the things that I came in contact with. Facts. This is facts. This is facts, yo. Predestination, yo. Wow. This is a fascinating concept. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Alright. I feel like I'm in limbo right now. Uh, okay. Oh, so you played this before? I thought I was special. Thought I was doing my own thing. The fuck is that? Alright. I've seen enough. Alright, we locked in. We locked in. We locked in. Alright.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Mm-hmm.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean?
Was it 2845?
Stanley read aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
Okay, yeah,
Of
okay.
course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
8, 4. Alright.
Incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct
Alright.
by sheer
I'm gonna do what they said this time.
He
Do what they
stepped
said.
into the newly opened passageway.
It's crazy. I like doing my own thing. Alright.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Which way do I go?
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally rooted in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Alright. Somebody got fired. Who got fired? What does fire mean? Terminated from living in this game. Alright. Hmm.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Mind control idle awaiting input. Alright. Just want to see something real quick. Mm-mm-mm. Hmm. 0142. 0142? Hmm. Oh, 142301. 3 zeros and 142 3 zeros 1.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Alright. Okay. I know the narrator is telling me like turn this shit off, right? Um what happens if I don't turn it off? This is a hypothetically, right? I could keep it off and follow the rules of the game that the narrator is setting for me, you know what I'm saying? Or I could be a dickhead, turn it on, and die an excruciating death that I've already died already. Do I prove that there's free will? Even though I know that everything is predestined, I feel like in this game. Even the sign right here that says danger, this right here is letting me know that turning this shit on is me making a horrible decision. I do want to experience the rest of the game though.
darkness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved.
Facts.
Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Was he really? Beat the game.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Fuck all this shit.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, but eager to get back to business. Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Who the fuck is her?
Stanley, your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Who's waiting? Who's waiting for me? What's her name? Oh, shit.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
No. No. I don't want to press that button. Fuck.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped out from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too
There's a clock
wonderful to
ticking.
behold.
I'm about to die.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he
Yo, he's
spends
such
here,
a
the more
dickhead.
invested he gets. The more he forgets which life is the real life.
Condescending, pretentious dickhead.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer. That as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Fuck it.
You see? Can you just not hear me?
I can hear you,
Tell
nigga.
him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself. How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
I don't like him.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
I don't care. I'm rebellion at this point. Throwing a tantrum. I don't want to be here.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
I don't care.
Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to
I'm
my
sorry, I
job.
got quiet. I
Let
forgot
me
I was
continue
streaming,
pushing
yo.
the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am
There's no
normal.
free will in this game.
Everything will be fine. I am okay.
You're not okay.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Huh?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body.
Appreciate
And then
those of
she
you
turned
who are here
red.
in attendance, watching me play the Stanley Parable. My first time playing this. Um, so I'm thinking about the concept of this game. It seems like everything is predetermined. So in order to survive, I gotta listen to the narrator. You know what I'm saying? Like it's predestined. And there's no such thing as free will because when I try to make decisions on my own, it leads to me dying a horrible death. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. I gotta leave this office. I'm pretty sure there's a few things in this game I haven't discovered yet. I feel like I'm going insane. I know what you're saying, like it's just a game, but when I think about everything I'm experiencing playing this game, especially when you immerse yourself like into games like this, you kind of become attached. I'm obsessed with making my own decisions. Like I'm obsessed with choosing my own path, creating my own destiny. So, I have to find a solution. I listen to the narrator. I complete the game like I did prior. I make my own decisions. I die a horrible death like I did 2 or 3 times already. There's more shit to this game. So I feel like it comes with sacrifices, right? Gotta listen to the narrator, but be quick to make other decisions as well. I just can't see me not being able to make my own decisions and survive this game. So, here we go, guys. Here we go. Thank y'all for listening to me go off on that fucking random tangent. And let me plug my remote control in. Currently, that is the time. So, I'm going to pay attention to the clocks in this game. There's clocks and there's random numbers written all over the place in this game. Here we go.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Is that a shortcut?
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Welcome to the whiteboard ending. The fuck does this mean?
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Alright, so I'm gonna enter the door on the left. Now that I know that random doors can open up.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Meeting room, floor 4, etc. What to do about 432? This box is too small. Okay. Um. Get Chris out of the broom closet. Uh. I'm employee 427, right? Okay. Looks like I am gonna have to read it upside down. TPS report. Uh. This page contains no information. Okay. What do people want? Things, money, more money. Things, but with money to buy more things. Graphs. Teenagers. In the stock market shirt. What is hot? Profits. Pause resharing. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to make sure I gather information if this is even important. At this point, they're trolling me. Yeah. Alright. Shift global market monetize free to play. Coincidentally, for me, this was free to play. Uh, there's a price on it. Help? Help, I'ma post it. Okay. Alright.
Not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
He is a yo, bruh. Alright.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
So we know what waits for me downstairs. Death. Okay. No reflection. I got the feeling money's for stealing, but it was a cool. I've seen this before. This was on one of the slides, I feel like. Does death await me? let's go upstairs. Alright. um, I am incredibly fatigued right now. And that elevator was clearly put there to troll me. They're actually trolling me as the elevator music was playing. And they started counting and saying, Stanley. So clearly, yeah.
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take. Too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs,
No, he
guttural
didn't.
retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going.
He did none of
He
that.
lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. But when at last he began to move about and survey the situation, he found a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could it mean? Was it a sign of hope for Stanley's future? Alas, it was not. For although this keypad guarded the terrible secret of Stanley's past, it had been assigned a 4-digit code so devious and so random that no man could ever hope to guess it. 2845. Statistically, nearly impossible to guess blindly, ever. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was incredibly by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, but Stanley happened to input the correct code. by sheer luck, amazing, he stepped into the newly opened passageway.
I I am going to end this here, and I want to finish exploring this shit. Um, so yeah, hopefully, yeah, I pull up tomorrow night, and we'll gradually just explore. Cause I feel like it's more shit to this game. They even said like when I was locked in the room with the fake wife shit, you know, different parts of the game that I feel like was I missed out on before I died type shit. Um, so yeah, more grounded gameplay coming this week. Um, I do want to get back into playing Little Hope. I felt like that was a great game. I want to complete that. Definitely need Fabi to play that though, because we actually started that one together, and it's a co-op game. So, yeah. As you can tell, I am tuckered the fuck out. Um, Thanks to everyone who pulled up. I don't know who all in here still, but shout out to you. Could have been anywhere else. Um, this was this is my relaxation zone, my peaceful zone, my zen zone. So if you here, I hope you were able to feel relaxed, feel zen, feel safe in this space. Hopefully you'll come back again. If not, no hard feelings. Still got love for you. Um, your first time here, subscribe. If you said last time here, then hey, I'm glad it was your first time here. But yeah, I am out. Good morning, good night, peace to all.